Hello everyone, this is part 20 of What If Naruto was born in the Uzumaki clan, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. He stood watching over Am as the rains fell more and more from the dark skies. He felt a coldness that seeped down to his very bones, and the gloomy atmosphere didn't help his spirits. He had stopped smiling, stopped hoping for a future, for it would not come. Not for him. It was always my color. His fists clenched as he remembered those words from the boy who had been his brother in all but blood. Remembered his smile and that hug they had shared before parting. If only he had known it would be the last time he would see his brother. The pain he felt was unbearable, the failure for not being there for him, the failure of not being able to protect him haunted Nagato every night. I belonged with my brother. These lands were not his place, he should have been by Naruto's side protecting the village that was their home. And now Naruto was S.K. by those monsters. Konoha would burn, they would feel the same pain as he felt right now. Yet his love for Naruto did not make him blind to the mistakes made by his friend. He had to avoid them or join his friend in the grave, and if Nagato had any say, it would be a while before he joined Naruto in death. Certainly not before getting justice for Naruto. He turned around and observed the small council in the conference room. Hanzo, Mifune, Galatea, Akeno and other notable commanders were present, looking at the map placed at the center. Nagato walked forward to assume the responsibility that Naruto had left for him. He might not be as good a commander as Naruto had been, but he would try his best. We cannot win this war on our own against two great villages like Konoha and Iwa, he confessed, earning bitter nods from the warriors in the room. What do you propose, Lord Fifth? Asked Hanzo calmly, and Nagato had to do his best not to flinch at his newer. Such honor belonged to Naruto, not him. But Naruto was S, and Nagato had to accept his new responsibility whether he liked it or not. I will carry on Naruto's plans for this war. He saw that almost everyone was looking at him attentively. Many of these people were bitter with Naruto for S so foolishly, but they still acknowledged that Nagato's friend had been quite capable at waging wars. If not at being a political creature. Naruto was a warrior, not a diplomat. His honor led to his downfall. A mistake Nagato would not make, if he could help it, for their enemy deserved no such mercy. Akeno was looking at him with a smile on her face and pride in her eyes. She still mourned their lost friend in private, but she was ready to do her duty. Akeno knew Nagato could never be what Naruto was to her, never truly fill the shadow he had left behind, but she was there to support him and stand by his side. And it was all that mattered, because he only had her. The rest of their friends too far away to help him in this difficult time. The Zetsu had told him all about Naruto's plans for the war and what his revolution truly was. Nagato had been surprised these soldiers knew such critical information, but Zetsu's clarified that it was Naruto who had told them this information to pass on to Nagato in case. Nagato clenched his fist again, for he now knew that his friend had a feeling about his possible death. And he never told them. Kept his friends away and got K. When he met his friend in the afterlife, he was going to whack him on the head for his noble yet foolish actions. The people were looking at him for explanation, and so he told them about Naruto's secret negotiations with the Kazekage, which started when he rescued Pakura and the Suna prisoners. The Sand leader had expressed his wish to talk regarding the war and the future. Naruto had also, in secret with the help of Zetsu's and remaining Akatsuki, managed to send messages to leaders of other small villages imploring them to join together to form an alliance against the great villages threatening them. At first, all the villages had refused, but now that Taki and Kusa were being attacked, they were flocking to form a united coalition like frightened sheep. Even the powerful banks that controlled the monetary power in their world had showed interest in supporting this coalition, provided all these nations opened up the borders, permitting free trade of goods and services, as well as develop better infrastructure in the form of dams, warehouses, technology. Individually, these small villages would not offer much benefit, but united they could truly reshape their fractured world. And all such actions would mean more and more business for the banks, not to forget stability across the world as economies would join together. When such connections were formed, it would not be so easy for one nation to wage war against another without facing repercussions from the rest. Conflicts would always happen, but the banks were willing to step in and maintain the peace. By the time Nagato finished his explanation, there was complete silence in the room and pure shock. Lord Fourth truly wanted to bring stability to our world, lamented Mifune. Naruto strived for a better future for our children and their children after that. He knew most of the Great Five would oppose such a coalition, for that would end their monopoly. He tried to make Konoha see reason in order to avoid much bloodshed and lost his life in this noble cause, began Hanzo. Every person in the room stared at the Omega Corps leader, for his decision would be change everything. I want that same future for Am and the rest of this world. I believed in Naruto Uzumaki, the White Wolf, confessed Hanzo, earning nods from his commanders who shared the same feeling. Nagato saw Hanzo remove his sword and point towards the Uzumaki leader. Nagato Uzumaki shares the same will. He is the young wolf and Omega Corps shall stand by him. Mifune joined his leader by unsheathing his own sword and raising it in the air. Lord Fifth. Akeno had tears in her eyes as the entire room of commanders unleashed their swords and raised them in the air, promising their support to Nagato and his cause. We will not let your dream Naruto. Nagato stood firm, his face betraying nothing but determination as he accepted the allegiances graciously. When the cheering stopped, he looked them all in the eye. I hereby announce the formation of the Great Union. The remaining villages have agreed for a summit to discuss terms. I will personally meet the Kazekage and the remaining leaders to make this dream come true. You have my word. His unwavering confidence and determination was exactly what these people needed to see after hearing about Naruto's fall. The hope started to return in their eyes, along with the desire to fight for a future that did not seem so impossible now. And they had Naruto to thank for that, for it was him who laid the foundations for this dream. And Nagato Uzumaki, Lord Fifth, commander of Akatsuki forces, was going to carry that dream from this moment till his last. Konoha. He walked through the dark dungeons of Konoha's most well-guarded prison. Never in his life had he expected himself to visit such a dreadful place where the worst criminals, traitors, and captured enemies were held. He had to control his fear as he heard horrible cries from many of the lower cells. Obito Uchiha had never believed in such inhumane acts, but he was not in command and had to trust their leaders in making the right choices. His brother was A few days back it might have brought him joy, for that boy had sent the common father to his death. But instead Obito felt hollow and miserable. No matter what Naruto had done, he had been Obito's elder brother. He became the youngest Kage in history, a dream which Obito had always desired, for he too wanted to become Hokage. His brother's reason for starting a war with Konoha were understandable to an extent, for his people had been betrayed by Konoha. Whether willingly or not, it didn't matter. Obito had never blamed his brother for that, even if he killed Kakashi, because in truth Naruto had been aiming to kill Obito, but Kakashi got in the way. Father's death had made him feel very angry towards his brother. A sibling Obito had never known, he had been so angry at Naruto for letting father like that. He could have stopped Minato, could have him requested to go back to Konoha. Orochimaru-san had encouraged Obito's hatred for his brother. But it had lessened when he heard Naruto had agreed to negotiate with Konoha in hopes of stopping this senseless war. It had showed Obito that maybe his brother was not a monster Konoha and Orochimaru was saying him to be. And then Naruto was The entire village had rejoiced and praised Danzo for their sworn enemy in that dishonorable manner. But Obito had fallen to his knees, overcome with grief for a sibling whom he admired and hated at the same time. Naruto had tried to do the right thing, he had been willing to put aside his rightful hatred for peace, and they killed him. For a long time Obito had been very interested in meeting his only sibling, he didn't care if they both didn't share the same mother. He had even promised Kushina to get Naruto back to his true home, but that promise had been forgotten when who Naruto was had been revealed along with what he had done. It had become even worse when Obito heard about Minato's death. However, no matter Naruto's crimes, he never deserved to be like that. Didn't deserve to be betrayed when he was trying to do the right thing. And now his brother was gone. Just like father and Kakashi. He had to know the truth, he had to know just what kind of person his brother truly had been and why he had let father And so he had pestered Jiraiya to let him visit her. It had not been easy, but Obito had been adamant and Jiraiya had relented on the condition of Obito becoming his student. I'll pass on your father's legacy to you. His only remaining son. Obito had accepted. And now he was here. The guards stationed outside the cell gave him disdainful looks warning him not to try anything funny and be wary of her. These Anbus wore faceless masks and seemed ready to kill at a moment's notice, so Obito readily nodded. Not that he needed to fear the prisoner, she had been a second mother to him his entire life. She would not harm him. The foul smell of sweat, blood and human piss hit him first. There were no lights in the dingy cell, but there was a small torch waiting to be lit on the stand across the wall. Obito burst fire on that wood, creating some light, and what he saw horrified him. He stumbled a few steps back, unable to see the thing in front of him. Monsters, how could they? He ran towards the broken creature with dark bruises, severe burns, C&S all across her body, the one hand twisted at an odd angle, the shabby clothes that smelt of blood and piss. The battered face that looked to have been pummeled brutally. But it was those eyes. Those and lifeless eyes broke him as he cried and engulfed the woman who had been a mother to him all his life. She had loved him, cared for him, trained him, had given him gifts on his birthdays. He didn't care if she had betrayed Konoha, she didn't deserve any of this. Obi. Her voice was so broken and old, so full of hope and fear, as if he was just another form of tea those bastards were going to rain down on her next. He gently touched her bee face and looked in her eyes with all the love he had for. Mother, I'm here, he whispered. She broke. Obito held her for so long, gently caressing her back, whispering soothing words in her ears as she cried miserably. He had to steel his own heart and control his own anger on seeing what Danzo had done to his mother. Mikoto Uchiha was his birth mother and had loved him dearly, but Kushina had loved him the same, and his blood boiled on remembering Danzo's words to Konoha's populace when they brought Kushina back. Traitors shall be punished. He hated that old bastard. Hiruzen Jiji would have never let this happen. No matter what Kushina had done, Hiruzen would never tea her like this after her son. After a long time her crying stopped because her body could not form any more tears. She looked so weak and hungry, and in need of medical treatment along with proper clothes. He had wanted to bring her food, her favorite ramen, but the guards had taken it away from him. Kushina just stared at him as if he was the last good thing remaining in her life. Her lover was her son too. What happened, mother? Asked Obito gently. She didn't answer and stared at him miserably, unable to describe her agony in words. Jiraiya and my mother Mikoto are trying to get you out of here. You'll soon be home back with us, he encouraged, but she stared at him sadly. I am never coming back, Obi. His heart broke on hearing her say that. Couldn't bear to look at the sad and resigned smile on her face, couldn't accept the defeated look in her eyes. Kushina Uzumaki never gave up, never lost hope, always thought the future would be good. I'll get you out of here, he promised, and saw her panic return. No, they'll kill you. Obi, you're Minato's last son. I cannot let you for me too, lamented Kushina miserably. He went silent for several moments, unable to see her like this. She was blaming herself. I cannot let you here. I've already lost father, Kakashi, and my brother, he confessed. She stared at him in surprise. Jiraiya had told her that Obito was furious with Naruto for letting Minato but what the boy just said. Obi? She asked uncertainly, making the young boy sigh. I don't know what to believe, mother. Everyone's going away and leaving me alone. I hate Danzo, he is cruel and nothing like Hiruzen Jiji. He did this to you, if father was alive, lamented Obito. You don't hate your brother and me? Asked Kushina in surprise, which made him flinch a little. I'm angry at you both. I understand why Naruto did what he did, but he didn't deserve to like that. He was my brother, and I never knew him. Kushina engulfed him in a fierce hug and kissed his forehead. They were so much like their father, shared that same heart, which made her grieve and fear for this boy. He was Minato's last son, and Naruto's only brother. She had to protect him. Even if it was the last thing she did. Obito gently broke the hug and looked her right in the eye, and Kushina saw he was no longer the young and naive boy she had last seen. I want to know the truth, mother, he requested sincerely. Danzo must have already told you by now along with entire Konoha, spat Kushina, and regretted her anger when he flinched. I'm sorry. He smiled at her kindly. Her gentle and kind Obi. I hate him, mother. No matter what others say, I don't believe you betrayed Konoha. I cannot trust anyone, but I want to trust you. Mother, you won't lie to me. She stared at this boy and couldn't help but imagine her own Naruto being the same person if his life hadn't been cruel. Obito shared his father and elder brother's determination. He wanted to believe in others, was never prejudiced against anyone, and had such a pure heart. If he had been with Naruto, her son wouldn't have s. Kushina knew she was a s-woman, her hopes s the moment Orochimaru plunged that sword within her son's sea. Mother. His last word haunted her every night. His ashen expression as he tried to save her broke her heart every time. She had nothing left to live for. She had tried to break free so many times to inflict her revenge on the people responsible for her Naruto, but Konoha was no longer taking any risks with her. And with every failed attempt, her tea became even worse. And she couldn't fight anymore. She just wanted to be with her son and Minato in the afterlife and live the life she never had with them. But she could at least do one last thing. I will tell you the truth. About your father, your brother, about me, and why we did what we did, she admitted. Obito actually activated a fully developed Sharingan, surprising her. On seeing her look, he told her that it was better if he saw the truth from her memories rather than make her repeat her painful story in words. She kei him for his kindness and desire to protect her even in this small manner. After a few moments, she managed to steady herself and gave him a nod. The next second she felt him enter her mind and allowed the memories to flow. The connection continued for a long time, but she didn't stop. Showed him everything that he needed to know about his family and what happened to them. Kushina regained her senses when the connection broke. The sound of weeping hit her first and she realized it was not hers. The young boy in front of him was the one weeping, with heavy tears falling from his eyes. He glanced at her miserably with so much pain before running out of the room. Kushina remained still in her bed, her face going extremely pale as she remembered the brief look of the boy and his strange eyes. The smell hit her first. Had known it for her entire life. Sitting atop her paper eagle, Conan observed the mass of bee floating lifelessly in the water. The entire sea across the shore had turned red, with large flocks of crows and vultures entertaining themselves to a massive feast. It was AM. Majority of the S were wearing the Akatsuki uniforms, and they were in thousands. The remaining hundreds were wearing the uniforms of Konoha and Kiri. She steeled herself and directed her paper bird towards the worn-out and battered castle storm. As she descended downwards, she noticed barely 24 soldiers in Akatsuki uniforms frantically running around to prepare for another attack. I don't have time for this. She threw the scroll with Naruto's own seal at the one who looked like the enemy commander. The Akatsuki caught the scroll and was surprised to see Naruto's insignia. He ordered the forces to stand down and allowed Conan to pass forward. She landed her bird and marched towards the door without a second glance at the surprised Akatsuki soldiers. They quickly parted away, allowing her to pass, quite intimidated with the fury burning in her eyes. Her steps were quick and firm as she reached the doors and banged them open with a violent punch. A surprised yell along with the sound of a sword being unleashed was heard. But before the defender could react further, she had already stepped before him and glared in his eyes. Lord Arima flinched as she grabbed his collar. Where is he? Lord Arima stared into those angry and frightened eyes of the young girl as she grabbed his collars roughly. Where is he? The sheer ferocity and protectiveness behind those words surprised him. Conan was her name. A skilled Kunoichi from Omegakure whom Lord Forth had appointed commander of the naval fleet sent to Kumo. If she was here, then it would mean Izu had done its part. The plan had taken effect. He saw she was either about to shout at him or punch him senseless and decided to quickly answer. Although either of those scenarios could still happen on her reception to his answer. Follow me. He untangled himself from her grasp and brusquely walked ahead. She sighed in frustration but took a deep breath and followed after Arima with quick strides. Conan could feel her heart beating rapidly against her sea, threatening to explode. She had seen many comrades and loved ones in her life, but this entire time she had been terrified about the prospect of his death. That idealistic, naive, dreamer fool. She hated what he was making her feel as she ascended the floors towards what was possibly the room where he was resting. Or lay. It had taken her an entire day of travel by air to reach this island, and every second she had spent in fear. All kinds of scenarios had played in her calculative head. Her concern for his life was the only thing keeping her sane after she an entire city of thousands in hellfire. Sasebo had vanished from the map of the ninja world. Not a single soul had survived the violent blast. The magnitude of what she had done was yet to sink in, for the only thing driving her, keeping her alive and sane, was the worry she felt for his life. How badly was he wounded? Would he recover? She dismissed the 1,000 questions haunting her every step and only focused her attention on Arima's moving form. It helped her focus and control herself to an extent. She was Conan, a veteran Junin of Am, and not some worrying silly girl. Yet even as she thought so, Conan couldn't help but pray to each and every god that existed in this cursed world. Let him live. Let him live. Let him live. Arima finally stopped in front of door and carried out a series of knocks. The seconds that followed were one of the longest of Conan's life, and she could not hide her surprise when Tsunade Senju was the one who opened the door. The blonde beauty looked haggard with dark patches under her eyes, disheveled hair and clothes that had yet to see a good round of cleansing and ironing. But Conan didn't care about any of that. She had already brushed past Arima and entered the room, ignoring Tsunade's surprised gasp. And she found him. Ghost stood on all fours and growled at the intruder. However, the great wolf, on seeing who it was, stopped his hostile gesture and instead whined in the direction of his master. Conan watched the person she had left her mission and friends behind for in a hostile nation, a person for whom she had thousands, a person she would go any lengths to protect. He was right there, sitting in that large bed. Face so pale, body covered in bandages from head to toe, of whom many were still red in color, marred with his repeated opening wounds. His bright red hair were messy and he reeked of sweat, blood and death. Yet it was his and lifeless eyes that hurt her most. He just sat there like a corpse staring out at the distant sea. If he had noticed her arrival, he didn't turn to look at her or even acknowledge her. Naruto Uzumaki simply sat there like a corpse, observing from his hollow eyes. Naruto. The living corpse finally turned his blank gaze towards her and looked away the moment their eyes connected. Leave. That single word hurt her, but more importantly, in that brief moment when their eyes had met, she had seen what he felt. Shame. For this had been his biggest defeat in this war, only eclipsed by his inability to protect Azu when it was first raided by the Big Three. He had made a mistake of willingly trusting enemies who wiped out thousands of his soldiers mercilessly. Took his mother away from him and reduced him to this corpse of a man. No. He screamed at her with such ferocious anger that Tsunade and Arima flinched. But Conan stood her ground, held his gaze as she walked towards him. Even Ghost looked to be healing from some serious wounds, yet even the wolf stepped aside, letting her pass towards his master. The gazes locked against each other for long moments, and she saw all his guilt, anger and pain. And she him hard. He reeled back from the blow, half in shock and half in pain. The other two people in the room yelled at her as she connected a second against his other cheek. She grabbed him by his collar and brought him just an inch away from her face and looked him right in the eye. You were a fool, and you will accept your mistake that brought forth this tragedy, she said coldly, uncaring if it hurt him even more. She was not Akeno, she didn't have sympathetic words for him. They were at war and there was no going back now. Tears arrived in his eyes as he glanced at her miserably. I failed, he confessed so sadly that it broke her heart. But she had to do this. You did. That is why you will get back on your feet and fight again with everything you have. You owe it to each and every soldier that is here for you, commanded Conan, even as her own eyes started to become moist. I can't. She grabbed his chin gently and made him look back at her when he tried to revert his gaze in shame. You can. We are at war, Naruto. The future of our villages, our people, our future generations depends upon what we do now. You once told me that giving Azu and your friends a peaceful future was your legacy. Well, your friends are still fighting out there. They are in shock and pain just like you, but not one of them has abandoned your dream. They still fight for Lord Fourth, even if they believe him, explained Conan patiently, remembering how Daibutsu had stood by her and their cause despite knowing that Naruto was How Yahiko was still out there with his personal army, Kyusuke fighting deep behind enemy lines, Nagato and Akeno defending Am. I understand the guilt you feel and it is not a small one. But I too did some horrible things in this war, acts that shall haunt me for the rest of my life. But I did it because it was my duty. Family, duty, honor, those are your clan's words. Have you forsaken them? Asked Conan gently, trying to fight back her own haunting dreams of watching thousands of lives perish in those flames instantly. He bit his lip, showing one of the rare times when he was openly nervous and hesitant. How can you follow me after the mistake I made? I couldn't even save my own mother, he admitted bitterly. She placed her forehead against his and felt so relieved to feel his burning body, for it showed her that he was still alive. That this was not a dream. Because we believe in you. We share your victories and your defeats as well. We prosper from your good decisions and suffer from your bad ones. But despite it all, you are our leader, our king, our commander. We are your friends and we swore to stand by you from the moment you became Lord forth until the moment of our last breath. Even after that we shall still stand behind you. For that is our conviction and loyalty. Sunad had stood still and remained silent as this young girl did what Arima and she couldn't this past week. Conan was harsh and brutal, yet her words had some affect as Naruto looked at her with some hope. Are the others still alive? He asked worriedly, and was relieved when she smiled. Yes, and you need to pull yourself together before they do something reckless. Set aside your pain and guilt, there will be time to reflect on that after we win this war. A ghost of a smile appeared on his face. You're a hard woman, he complained, receiving a light bonk on the head from her. And you're an honorable fool. Arima couldn't believe his eyes when the boy laughed wholeheartedly. He had been a mess this past week, dealing with his injuries and drowning in guilt along with self-pity. Sunad and Arima had tried the best. They managed to save his life along with ghosts, but they couldn't make their leader lift his broken spirit. They had been sympathetic to his pain, encouraged him to get back up, yet nothing had worked. Until this blue-haired girl came along and literally s some sense into Naruto's thick skull. Perhaps the boy had only needed a friend. Conan managed to control her own laugh but couldn't stop her lips from forming a faint smile on seeing the full laugh. He was a damn fool. But he was her fool. She could see he had received quite serious injuries and it would take time to get back his lost confidence in his own ability. Their war plans had gone haywire and sorting this mess was going to bring her a massive headache, but she had to step up to this challenge. Naruto had always believed in his friends no matter what. He had risked his life time and again for them. It was time they repaid that priceless loyalty in kind. Arima and Sunad sat side by side observing the young, fearless girl before them. She was busy writing the last message while there was already a small stack already written by her side. When she finished her work, she called one of the Akatsuki and asked him to send the messages. When that was done, Conan turned towards them. Tell me everything. Arima nodded and told her all about the ambush. Sunad then followed up with the account of how she saved Ghost from the poison inflicted in his body from Kusanagi. Naruto himself had suffered a lethal blow from the same sword, but the boy's body was immune to poison due to his brutal training as an where his body had been injected with anti-B that helped him resist such attacks. Conan had given Arima a nasty look on being reminded of what Izu had done to Naruto as a child, but she controlled herself and asked Sunad to continue her explanation. Most of his wounds are healing nicely. But his chakra network is suffering from the wound inflicted by Sakumo's sword, admitted Sunad worriedly. What happened? Asked Conan hesitantly. That sword was made up of pure yang chakra and combined that with Sakumo's powerful chakra. Suffice to say, Naruto's dark chakra network is suffering from chakra poisoning at the moment, said Sunad honestly, and saw the young girl flinch. Yet Conan refused to break and looked the medic right in the eye. How bad? And be honest, please, the last part said in a trembling voice. His body is resilient and is giving a tough fight. He can survive provided he follows my instructions to the letter and maintains a positive attitude, said Sunad, earning a relieved nod from the girl. He'll do all you ask, Lady Sunad. Naruto can be pretty stubborn, said Arima hesitantly, remembering how uncooperative the boy had been the past few days. Conan smirked. That is because you allowed him to sulk. Believe me, that idiot carries the entire world's burden on his shoulder, and you have to knock some sense into him repeatedly. He may be weak and miserable right now, but if you allow him even a little free rein, he can become his own worst enemy, explained Conan frankly. You seem to know a lot about him, commented Tsunade, and saw a faraway look arrive in the young girl's eyes. He and I are the same. The two adults looked at the teenage girl for further explanation, but Conan remained silent. Tsunade saw the iron strength in those eyes and had a feeling maybe things would start to turn in their favor now that this girl was here. There was a great pain and guilt in Conan's eyes, the same as Naruto, but there was also present a ruthless determination to not let those negative feelings get in her way. She was focused and willing to go to great lengths for victory in this war. Lord Arima, it will be best if you return to Izu and take command of the village's defenses, advised Conan, but the man shook his head. My leader is here and I cannot abandon him in this state. Besides, I don't have a ship that can take me back to Izu, protested Arima fiercely. I will provide you a bird that will take you to Izu quickly. It is a good thing that you spread rumors of Naruto's death. Even I began to believe it true when the news came from Izu itself. It might have just saved Naruto's life, praised Conan. I did my duty. If the enemy had even the faintest idea that Naruto was alive, they would come back and finish him for real this time. While this move of mine saved Naruto's life, it must have sent our allies into a frenzy, said Arima worriedly. It has. But they will overcome this difficulty for sure. Meanwhile, I need you back in Izu, for Konoha will send men to burn your village to the ground. Use the Akatsuki army and your Uzumaki fighters to crush those monsters, suggested Conan seriously, and saw Arima was still hesitant. Naruto will not be fit to fight or take command for a few more days. And when he is able, I plan to focus his attention elsewhere, directed Conan. Where? Asked Tsunade and Arima in unison. Conan again gave them a blank stare, clearly indicating they would have to wait for the answer. Izu is leaderless right now and they need you. I will personally take care of Naruto with Tsunade's help. We need to focus on the bigger picture. We have a war to win, urged Conan. Arima glared at her. I will take this suggestion of yours directly to Lord Forth. I shall only follow his command, girl. With that the noble lord walked out of the room, earning a tired sigh from Tsunade, who emmed her forehead. Stubborn fool. Loyal but stubborn. A trait Uzumaki have in spades, replied Conan with a faint smile. She quirked an eyebrow on seeing Tsunade sitting silently in her chair with a tired and sad look on her face. Sensing the gaze on her, the Senju looked at the young girl. Why did you stay? More importantly, why didn't you support your village? Asked Conan curiously, keeping her voice soft and inviting in order to not hackle the already devastated Senju woman. I made an oath to protect Naruto in case of a betrayal by Konoha. I kept my promise, but the only reason I did what I did was because of my sensei and his last wish, said Tsunade sadly. It took Conan a few seconds to comprehend what was just said, making her eyes go wide. The third is S.K. by an Izu, my former comrades said to me. But I have been in Izu, seen their soldiers and have personally observed the kind of leader Naruto is. The truth is, if he had an alike, that there would have been no need for an open war. More than that, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the professor, would not have been killed by some lowlier, spat Tsunade angrily, her fist on the table making it creak in protest. Then who authorized the strike? Who allied Konoha with Kiri? Asked Conan worriedly. Danzo Shimura. Conan tried to recall that name but couldn't. Sensing her confusion, Tsunade explained Danzo was a student of Tobirama Senju and comrade of Hiruzen. Unlike the professor, he was fixed on establishing Konoha's dominance in this world through any means necessary. How he had always desired to be Hokage, how he was rumored to be leader of some secret Black Ops group doing dirty work for Konoha. Tsunade observed Conan going deathly pale and asked her the reason. It was Conan who reminded the Senju of Naruto and his survivor's encounter with faceless masked Konoha Anbu, who butchered them mercilessly. Whose group leader hinted that Konoha had a hand in Izu's destruction. That mad fool. Conan didn't stop Tsunade as the furious Senju broke the entire table with a chakra fist. She's monstrously strong. Tsunade raged for quite some time, yelling curses on Danzo, pummeling the broken table into even smaller rubble. Finally, when there was nothing left to pummel, Conan approached the woman who was kneeling on the ground, silent sobs escaping from her mouth. Conan laid a hand on her shoulder. Danzo is the fourth Hokage now. He was the one who authorized this strike, who teamed up with Kiri, and who could possibly be behind Hiruzen's death. I met some of the clan heads on the battlefield and they were also not comfortable with Danzo as our leader. But he has power and the daimyo's backing, and the only man who could stop him is explained Tsunade miserably. Conan knelt beside her and didn't remove her hand from the sad woman's shoulder. Her eyes stared into Tsunade's. I will complete my teacher's wish by bringing peace between our villages, pledged Tsunade. Naruto will not stop until he destroys Konoha completely, warned Conan, and saw Tsunade grimace. I know that, and I cannot stop him. But Konoha is not the village but the people. There are many who oppose Danzo and whose thoughts on Azu are similar to mine. My village might get destroyed, but it is my duty to protect the few good souls who had nothing to do with this disaster, the women, the children, the old, the clans still opposing Danzo, explained Tsunade with such strength and conviction, which was reflected by her next words. There must always be a Senju in Konoha. Conan stared at this woman who was perhaps one of the last Senju in the world. A direct descendant of Hashirama and Tobirama, heir to a clan loved in the land of fire, and a woman sharing blood ties with Azu. And she realized what Tsunade truly wanted. The Senju woman smiled a little on seeing the young girl discovering her true intention. I will serve Naruto Uzumaki, for he is an honorable man and my distant cousin. I could not stop my village from its folly nor protect my teacher and leader. But I will protect him, because he holds the key to my people's future, said Tsunade honestly. He will butcher every person in Konoha. After what your village did, warned Conan, but Tsunade shook his head. You must look towards the future, Conan. He cannot butcher the millions of citizens of the land of fire. Even if he destroys Konoha, he does not have the army, logistics or support to hold the land of fire. It is too vast, and the fire daimyo will continue rebelling against him. The peaceful world Naruto wants shall never come if he orchestrates countered Tsunade. Then what do you propose? Asked Conan cautiously. You have to remove the fire daimyo and his family. Destroy the feudal system to stop future wars or rebellions from breaking out. Naruto must promise me the lives of the innocent people of my nation and those who I deem worthy. In return, I will pledge him my loyalty by becoming the new lord and rule under his name. The people of my nation will never accept a foreign ruler, but they will accept me because of my family. The land of fire has vast resources and power. Any future peace you want depends upon the stability you bring after the war. I will join the Senju and Uzumaki clans so that no future wars break out easily. Conan was stunned. This woman was a visionary and a person who desired peace, and willing to go to great lengths to achieve it. What Tsunade said was quite practical. Granted, there were many obstacles and ifs to her proposition, but if they managed to achieve it, the southern lands, which were quite prosperous, could truly unite with the rest of the world. Naruto was a northern leader, and even if he conquered entire land of fire, he would not be able to hold it. Not for long. But Tsunade was a southern woman and hailed from the most respected family of Senju. I have to think about this, said Conan diplomatically, earning a brief smile from Tsunade. I'll wait. I have seen how he listens to you. Not many men do that. There is a strange understanding between you two. You must make him see reason, requested Tsunade. Conan nodded, but at the same time realized one big obstacle. One which could derail everything. Kushina Uzumaki is a prisoner of Konoha. After what she did, what will happen to her? Asked Conan seriously. They will eat her. Tsunade explained that Konoha already had several prospective candidates who could become the next Jinchuriki. They would not be as powerful as Kushina, but they would be loyal to the village to death. And even an untrained, young Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails could tear apart an entire army if allowed to run free. Horror spread through Conan's heart. If Konoha e Kushina, the last family of Naruto. Tsunade knew exactly what would happen if such a catastrophe took place. Every man, woman and child in the land of fire would be put to death. If Kushina is warned Conan, earning a nod from the Senju. The Uzumaki will remember and put every citizen of my nation to death, finished Tsunade. Silence remained between the two women for a long time as they tried to understand the gravity of the situation and how much was at stake. There are still many good people in my village. People who have honor and can see reason, people loyal to me and close to Kushina. I have asked him to save her, revealed Tsunade hesitantly. Who? Asked Conan seriously, but Tsunade shook her head. I will not reveal the names just yet. But they are powerful and honorable men and women. They will save her, promised Tsunade. You haven't told Naruto because he won't trust anyone from Konoha. And if you reveal the names of the people following you and if they fail to save Kushina, they will be put to death as well. You play a dangerous game, Lady Sunad, warned Conan, earning a tired nod from the blonde woman who looked to have aged a decade in these past few weeks. It is a risk I must take. All I want is this war to end and my people safe, those who I can save at least. Conan nodded and stood up to leave the room. Sunad looked at her one last time. Save this world from destroying itself in flames of hatred, Conan. She remained seated by his side, watched him sweat from his heavy fever and mutter incoherent things in his sleep. But at times, she heard him cry out for his lost mother and it made her feel for him. His wounds were going to take some time to heal. If not for his Uzumaki genes. Conan trembled on even imaging his death. He was an honorable fool, but she needed him. She held his hand and continued caressing his messed up red hair. It was night and the island was silent, which gave her time to think about everything that had happened. And Conan arrived at a conclusion. She loathed war. So much death, suffering and horror. So many pieces to pick up after a war. The possibility of losing the ones you hold dear. She thought about Sunad's offer. She thought about all her friends out there fighting a bloody war. She thought about her village, which now seemed such a distant memory. She thought about Hanzo, Galatea, Mifune and so many others she missed. For the first time in her life, Conan felt so tired and miserable. She wanted to go home, back to her friends and family, back to the time when they were just young kids completely oblivious to this dark world. We never should have left, she whispered. There was movement and a silent curse in a hoarse voice as Naruto woke up and sat on the side of the bed. She didn't leave his hand but instead clutched it even more fiercely as if her life depended on the simple contact. He looked in her eyes and she couldn't hide everything she felt in her heart. For him, for their friends, for their home. He didn't say a word because nothing could make it better, nothing could change what they had done, nothing could erase the pain they felt. So when he opened his arms with moist eyes, Conan jumped straight into that warm embrace. And cried. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.